Another part of the ground lease with particularly sophisticated tenants, ground lessees who are real property developers is if the ground lessee is going to pour millions and millions of dollars into your property, as is the case with our San Mateo ground lease, they are going to want, understandably, from their standpoint, to have the ability at some point in time to acquire your interest as the fee owner, as the ground lessor in the property. What you commonly see in ground leases, and these are usually areas of fairly prolonged and difficult negotiations, but your ground lessee at a minimum is going to want the right of first refusal to come in and buy the fee if you, as the ground lessor, decide that you want to sell your fee interest subject to the ground lease. So that's fairly common. You might also have to give your ground lessee an option to purchase at a specified price. And then the ground lease that we're finishing up in San Mateo, we put a good deal of time into put and call options under the ground lease. They're important to the ground lessee. They can be triggered. We've set the San Mateo ground lease up so that the triggers really don't come into play for the first 25 years of the ground lease, but then you have all types of issues in terms of how do you value the fee interest in the real property 25 years out, and that's usually done by fair market appraisal. So the ground lease, it's a nice alternative to a 1031 exchange, but it's got its own number of pitfalls that you have to beware of. So, as I alluded to a few minutes ago, Carr McClellan has been here for, I think, 77 years now, and our attorneys have got a lot of experience in doing ground leases. I don't know that you know, but most of Foster City, when it was built out more than 50 years ago, the initial build out was based on ground leases. Most homes, the homeowner purchased a long-term ground lease with some right to buy the fee later. And this is just the way that the affiliates of the Foster family, our client at the time, set up the building of Foster City. And our partner, Norm Book, has been the Foster family's attorney for 50 plus years. And he's got a lot of knowledge in terms of how to structure ground leases. So I guess in closing, this is an area that I have personally found to be pretty fascinating. It's a new take at an alternative to a 1031 exchange where our clients are having trouble finding a property that they'd like to exchange into. The ground leases probably take a little more time lawyering than the 1031 exchanges do. But again, if you're like my client whose mother passed away and you happen to love a given piece of property and you don't want to sell it, think about doing a ground lease.